do.
You're not singing, you're going to sing.
Oh. It was early one morning, I was on my way to school. It was early one morning, I was on my way to school. Then was the Monday morning, I broke my teacher's rule. A lot of people compare me, they say, oh, that's Norwich's George Melly, you know. I like to think I'm Norwich's Albert Cooper, you know, and that's it. I don't like being compared to other artists. But of course he's famous and I'm not.
But of course the big difference between me and George, John, is that, one, he comes from Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's a jazz singer, and he had an education, and I didn't have an education or come from Liverpool. That's my problem. I came from Norwich, you know.
Two things, two marks against you.
Carrot crunchers.
I don't know, you used to be tremendously learned about the way you could hear the Mass in Latin. You know, you used to be very cross if you couldn't hear it in Latin.
Well, I still do, of course, to this very day.
Go away from my window, leave at your own chosen speed. I'm not the one you want, babe. I'm not the one you need. You say you're looking for someone who's never weak but always strong, to protect you and defend you, whether you are right or wrong. Someone to open each and every door, but it ain't me, babe. No, 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 it ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for, babe. As an adult musician, I've been going about, well, very nearly 40 years. But as a singer, of course, I was a singer from the age of 7. I didn't really want to leave Norwich, to be frank. Although I say if the right chance had come along, I would have done it. But it didn't happen. Therefore, that's Providence. That's where I am today, and I'm quite happy with it. If fame had come along, it would have been nice, but I didn't really thirst after it or dream about it. If it had happened naturally, and I suppose these things really, if one is honest, they don't happen naturally, but if it had happened naturally, that would have been fine, but it wasn't to be. I don't think what I do is, to me, is anything spectacular. I mean, I'm always doubting my performances and feeling very unsure about it. But on the other hand, I do get good and loving audiences, and I've had them for many years, so I must have something which maybe they can see, which I can't. I was launched into music essentially by my parents. My father was a song and dance man briefly after the First World War. So he had a bit of a background in the theatre. But as a boy, they found I could sing. I had a bit of a treble voice, so they carted me off to St John's Roman Catholic Church and stuck me on the choir. And I developed from there naturally. When I sing jazz or blues, I can hear classical music there all the time, what I was taught, you know, just singing scales in practice. I was brought up a cradle Catholic in the pre-Vatican II days, obviously, because I'm that age. These are the days when the music was beautiful, when there was majesty, when there was pomp and circumstance in the service, if you like. I found this very spiritually moving. It helped me get nearer to the Creator. It's hard enough doing that in any case, but it certainly helped me. Since the demise of that, of course, we now have post-Vatican II, I just can't get along with it at all. I'm still a believing Catholic as far as that goes, so I hang on in there, going to the traditional Tridentine Latin Mass wherever it's said. Although, of course, it's out of bounds, but nonetheless, I carry on with it. I have a very strong spiritual sense. I like movement of the spirit. Therefore, That comes through in any music I sing or play. After I came out of the Air Force in 1951, I'd heard about the Jolly Butchers. It was a bit of a low-life place. I thought, well, I'd just nip up the hill to Burr Street and have a look at the Jolly Butchers. Because I walked in and I heard the blues for the first time. It was the first time I'd heard the blues, you know. And I was absolutely knocked out. Anne was an Italian immigrant. She was just an absolute character. She was hard as nails, but had a good heart. Anne took me under her wing, and she was a great jazz singer. And from then I learnt jazz songs, and it took off from there.
Oh, mama, I mean mama, listen while I go. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, if the liquor don't get you, the women must.
She died, and really part of her legend is going with her, slowly. It has to happen. But certainly I worked with her for ages and ages, and she was my mentor in the blues. A wonderful woman. And I think every artist is after recognition, essentially. And if I get recognition, that's as much as I can hope for. Even if it's from a kid in the street, or a tramp in the street, or a lord or a lady, or just an average person, a dust collector or anything. If they come up to me and say they enjoyed my performance, that's recognition, and I appreciate that.
I've still got my little badge with Jacquard on him. He was a philosopher, was he?
No, he invented the Jacquard loom.
Oh, he invented the loom.
Brussels' most famous son.
Yes, that's right.
Supposedly.
But they were indeed lively days, and I always remember you two, the brothers, usually quarrelling, you know.
Right.
They were very, although they stood united against the world, they were quite cross with each other most of the time.
Traditional Catholics do that sort of thing,
Yes.
you know. That's the problem.
And you and him came back to me and said, we found this room, shall we form a folk club? And that's the first I knew about it, actually. So tell me.
Yes, and what's in the name? We call it the Jacquard Club.
I never remember the end of any evening at the Jacquard. Not the end.
No, it was fabulous.
Lost in the mists of
yes,
alcohol.
with the odd barmaid or two.
Oh, everything. But then we were younger chaps,
Yes,
weren't we?
Yeah.
we were rough and ready guys, but oh, how we could harmonise.
And he did a story for the Melody Maker, 7 Days on the Road with George Melly, and he picked Norwich as one of his dates.
Some of the first engagements we ever played were at the Jacquard. And you were kind enough to let us rehearse during the day.
That was right.
And I think we had a glass or two and we took it easy and we learned another number. And that was the way the band got
Help
started.
yourself at the bar, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like
Help
that.
yourself at that.
Well, I certainly didn't realise at the time that many of them would be big stars. I mean, i.e. Ralph McTell, who I spoke to recently. When he first came to the club, he was just a guitarist in a bluegrass band, you know, and, well, Ralph McTell, I knew him as Ralph, but I mean, you would hardly think he'd be a big star at all, you know.
Well, in fact, I think it was at your club that they said, Ralph's now going to play a couple of numbers on his own.
Right.
And I think that was the very start of it. I can't remember, obviously, what I played, but I've got a pretty good idea. And that got built into the set, and gradually I sort of drifted off into a solo career. You know?
I feel quite emotional about this year. I really do.
Well, you
Ralph.
gave us the first chance, you know, and it was very happy times. I'd never been to Norwich before, and the club was a real thriving, proper club.
Tiny room, tiny stage. That's why.
But you know, it had the proper residents. It had like a team that could turn their hand to different sorts of music and so on. So you always got a good atmosphere there,
Well,
and we loved it.
The bar is in this corner, you remember that? Yes, a little bar in the corner. And above here we used to have a sign, be quiet during singing. And we couldn't get quite the word singing in, so we used to finish up with S-I-N.
That's right.
And everybody used to be amused by the words, be quiet during sing.
All the best. And thank you very
Yes,
much
it's time for the big performance.
Well, getting on
Shining
that
brightly
way.
twice nightly.
No bigger than it was in the Jacquard, just the larger premises.
Lovely boy.
And happy birthday and all the best,
I
really.
didn't know you decided to come out.
Oh yes, I've come out of the closet years ago.
You're so kind, you're so very, very kind to us. Thank you very much indeed.